Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Wiggins and I'm a senior at James Hubert Blake High School in Silver Spring, Maryland. So welcome to the Of the People series brought to you by the White House and Discovery Education. So today we're actually here at the State Department in Washington, D.C. to talk about the Our Ocean Conference that they're hosting, to learn a little bit more about what's being done to protect our ocean. So today with us we have Kathy Novelli, who is Undersecretary of Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment. Welcome, Undersecretary Novelli.
Thank you.
So can you tell me a little bit more about this conference that you guys are hosting?
Yes. So the conference, Our Ocean Conference, is the third in a series of conferences that we have hosted. We started this movement 2 years ago, and we hosted it then, and then Chile decided to host it last year, and now we're hosting it again. And the idea behind this conference was to do something different, outside the box. So it is not just a normal conference where everybody comes and just talks. It is a conference where people come with solutions to look at areas of the ocean that need to be protected.
Yeah.
So it is looking really at four areas, at illegal fishing and marine protected areas which help fish regenerate, pollution of the ocean, which can come from both fertilizers as well as plastics, and then looking at ocean acidification and looking at how do we make the economy and conservation work together, so the blue economy. When folks come, they come with solutions for these issues, as well as they pledge to actually take action. And we've traced that action actually happening. And so that's what makes this very different from other conferences.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So it seems as though you and Secretary Kerry are very passionate about the ocean. Why is this such a big priority for him and for you?
Secretary Kerry has been passionate about the ocean for a really, really long time. He grew up near the ocean. When I came to the State Department, the first thing he asked me to do was to put on the Our Ocean Conference. And so I got to learn about not just the importance of the ocean, but what's happening to it. And it is really amazing the challenges that the ocean's facing. Half of the stocks of fish in the ocean are depleted.
Oh, that's not good.
There is so much plastic in the ocean right now that if you took all that plastic and you lined it up on every coast in the whole world, it would fill 5 layers deep of garbage bags.
Wow.
And that's just now. More is going in and going in and going in. So we are at a place, if we don't do something, where there's going to be 3 tons of fish and 1 ton of plastic in the ocean.
Wow, that's a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
That's a lot
and
of
so,
plastic.
that's why we're looking at how can we recycle the plastic and maybe even turn it into energy. What can we do to address that question? And that's one of our pollution of the ocean questions.
So I know I use reusable water bottles. I love mine. It's called a Swell bottle. It's fantastic. So is doing little things like that, can that really help and make a difference?
Yes, it can make a huge difference. I mean, everybody has a role to play. And so doing things like not using plastic bags, using reusable water bottles, that's huge. If you live near a beach, cleaning up a beach is huge.
Yeah, I've done that a little bit.
All water actually runs to the ocean, so cleaning up waterways near your own house, rivers, streams, that will matter also. So there are very active things that folks can do. In addition to that, it's really important if you're going to eat seafood that you eat sustainably caught seafood.
Yeah.
And that you insist upon that, and that, in terms of all this plastic, that as a consumer, that you start talking to companies who are using all this packaging and stuff that becomes trash to say, you know what, you could do this in a way that uses a whole lot less plastic, and that's what we as consumers want to see. So there's a lot that you can do without being a marine biologist.
So a lot of my friends are really, really interested into ocean conservation, not polluting. But then there are a couple that aren't really as interested. Is that a common trend across the country, or is a lot of people really into helping out?
Well, one of the reasons why we are reaching out to young people is because we want to explain, why does it matter? Why does the ocean matter? If you live in the middle of the country or you live in a place that doesn't have an ocean, why should you care? And one of the most interesting things about the ocean is that it produces 50% of the ocean we breathe.
Wow, so it's important.
Yeah, and millions of people depend upon fish as their primary source of protein. So it's important for all of us, for breathing, it's important for nourishment, and of course, we all grew up looking at whales and gorgeous things in the ocean, the beach, and so all of us appreciate that as well.
Yeah, because I was actually at the beach for over a month this summer. Had a fantastic time. Like, I was in the water. We went ghost crab hunting, which was fantastic, right on the beach. So what are you guys doing at the State Department, especially as Undersecretary, to reach out to students across the country and students like me?
Well, Secretary Kerry actually taught a class at Montgomery Blair High School. Yes, exactly. Maybe your rival.
Yeah.
And I've met with students at the Punahou School in Hawaii. And interestingly, we have ocean champions who are foreign ministers like Secretary Kerry around the world, and they are teaching classes at high schools in their country as well, to get all of the young minds who are thinking in creative ways to start thinking about how to solve some of the problems that we're facing.
This is fantastic. We actually have a video clip of Secretary Kerry at Blair High School and a little bit of other discussions from students across the country. So let's take a look.
I'm sure you're saying to yourself, okay, why is the Secretary of State of the United States of America, in an age where we have terrorism and we have several wars going on at the same time, why are we focused on the oceans?
Y ustedes preguntarán, ¿por qué es importante hablar del océano?
50% of the world's population rely on food from the ocean. And don't forget that today you have to feed a planet with 7 billion population, and in a few years' time we have to feed a population of 9 billion.
Bottom line is, folks, we rely on the oceans on this planet for life itself.
Los científicos dicen que hay un solo océano, no varios. ¿Por qué? Porque las corrientes marinas que hay a través de los mares del mundo conectan a todos los océanos en uno solo. Lo que hagamos acá, si nosotros maltratamos el mar, eso también puede tener un impacto en los mares de otras latitudes, de otros continentes.
The sea levels are rising, and with the rising of the sea levels, we are losing coastal communities.
So you can see, and all of you don't need me to tell you about it, because you're smarter than I am, and you know the connections of these dots and the impact that it has potentially in our lives.
I want to know how to educate the public to save the oceans.
Certainly, we can raise awareness with governments around the world and begin to provide mechanisms that they can employ in order to do this. I'll give you an example. I mentioned 800,000 young people went out and cleaned up in one single day. There isn't one of you here who couldn't organize that.
Sí.
¿Cómo los países pueden trabajar con otros países para no contaminar?
Bueno, ese es uno de los objetivos que Chile ha tenido en una conferencia denominada Nuestro Océano, Our Ocean, una iniciativa del canciller o el secretario de Estado norteamericano John Kerry. Él hizo una conferencia donde invitó a todos los países que tuvieran interés en colaborar.
We cannot say the oceans belong to him or to her or to me. The oceans and the resources of the oceans belong to all of us. So we have a collective responsibility.
The ocean is so vast that you have huge parts of it that don't belong to any particular nation. We have announced a global conference we will have right here in Washington on the 15th and 16th of September at the State Department, bringing people from all over the world to talk about how we are going to manage this together.
Before I came here, I was thinking, why is the State Department into science? That really doesn't seem like something that would do, but after talking to you, I can really see how both are intertwined, and it's very important.
Well, and you know, the thing is that fish don't know, oh, this is the border, this is the territorial, you know, waters of one country or another. So they're swimming around, and if we're going to deal with the ocean, we have to work together with many other countries, or we don't really have a chance to correct some of these problems and to keep the ocean pristine, and to keep it as a great resource for all of us and a place for fun and the sun.
Yeah.
So.
Sun's important. Thank you so much, Undersecretary Novelli, for coming with us and talking to us a little bit. And good luck with this year's conference.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon with our next guest, but first, we have a short video to talk about our ocean.
Even though the ocean covers 70% of the Earth's surface, people tend to know more information about land than the sea. As a result, our understanding of the ocean is often incomplete or full of misconceptions. How well do you know the ocean? You may think Earth has 5 separate oceans. They're clearly labeled on our maps. But in actuality, these are all connected and part of one global ocean system. Ever wonder why the ocean is blue? You may have heard it's because the water reflects the color of the sky. Not quite. Sunlight contains all the colors of the rainbow. When it hits the ocean, it gets scattered by the water molecules. Blue light is scattered the most, which is why the ocean appears blue. Even more interesting is that floating plants and sediments in the water can cause light to bounce in such a way for the ocean to appear green, yellow, and even red. Another idea some people have is that the seafloor is flat. Actually, just like land, the seafloor has canyons, plains, and mountain ranges, and many of these features are even bigger than those found on land. You may also think that our ocean saltwater is just a mix of water and table salt. Not so. Seawater's salt is actually made of dissolved minerals from surface runoff. That is, excess water from rain and melting snow flowing over land and into the sea. This is why the ocean doesn't have the same level of salinity everywhere. Salinity varies by location and season. Finally, you may have heard that melting sea ice will cause sea levels to rise. In reality, sea ice is just frozen seawater, and because it routinely freezes and melts, its volume is already accounted for in the ocean. Sea levels can rise, however, from ice that melts off land and into the ocean. Understanding basic facts about the ocean is important since it affects everything from our atmosphere to our ecosystems. By knowing your ocean, you are better prepared to help protect it.
So we're back with our next guest, who is Dr. Rick Spinrad. He's from NOAA, which stands for U.S. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. How are you doing today, Dr.
I'm doing great, Christopher. Thank you.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit more about what NOAA does? Because I don't really know that much.
Sure. NOAA is really an amazing agency. We like to think of it as the National Environmental Intelligence Agency, which really means we collect information about the environment, about what it is right now, and we develop predictions about the environment. So, for example, when you get notice that school's going to be called for snow, that weather forecast came from NOAA. Or when you get a new pair of shoes that were shipped over from overseas manufacturing, most of what we get in the U.S. by shipping comes over the ocean, and the forecasts for what the weather conditions are going to be at sea, as well as the charts and the maps of the ocean. That's another thing that NOAA does. We also manage the nation's marine fisheries. So if you have fish sticks, that's because we're managing the fisheries. And the last thing, which is really cool, is we actually observe the sun for solar storms.
Wow.
So if there's a bad solar storm, that can ruin your cell phone, it can ruin the whole electrical grid, and we have a responsibility for monitoring that and predicting when there are solar storms.
So you guys do a lot, I can tell.
We do a lot. Yes. And we do all of this for 5 cents a day for each American citizen.
That's good, that's good. But back to what you said about the snow days. So if I want a snow day, you guys are the ones I need to talk to.
Well, we're in charge of marketing, not
Marketing.
production.
Okay.
So we are able to tell you what's going to happen, but we don't actually control the weather. But the neat thing is that our ability to predict that has gotten better and better every year. So when I was a kid, and I grew up in New York City, we might not know the day beforehand whether the forecast was reliable or not for a snow day. But nowadays, 2, 3, 4 days out, you get good forecasts.
We got a lot to do.
Yeah.
So can you talk to me a little bit more about some current projects underway at NOAA to like protect the ocean around the world?
One of the most important things that we do for protecting the ocean is actually learning about it and making observations. So how do you know how healthy the ocean is? It's the same thing as when you go to your doctor. If your doctor said to you, I'm just going to take your temperature, you'd say, no, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So we take the temperature, we measure the salinity, we measure the currents,
So there's a lot
we
to
make
do.
all these observations all around the world. We do that with hundreds of buoys that are moored throughout the oceans. We do this with drifting devices. We do this with ships. We do it with satellites. So one of the major things we do for protection and stewardship of the ocean is to monitor and observe the ocean.
So you guys have a lot of boats out there, right? Buoys and boats and.
We have ships, we have buoys, we have things called floats. So there are 4,000 of these. They're called Argo floats. And basically, they float around the ocean. They drop down to about a mile deep. They float for 2 weeks, taking measurements the whole time, come back to the surface, send their data by satellite to a laboratory on land, and then they do it all over again. And they'll stay out for years and years and years. So we work with 29 other nations to have all of these Argo floats out there throughout the oceans making measurements.
Wow.
And with that information, we can make really good predictions about where debris might go.
So I know that marine debris continues to be a problem throughout the oceans, and we actually have a video from NOAA that shows the effects of pollution and trash in our ocean. Let's take a look.
What do a tropical island in the Pacific Ocean and the Antarctic have in common? Unfortunately, it's marine debris. Even the most remote locations on Earth are fouled by man-made garbage and cast-outs. And a majority of the debris that's found comes from land-based sources. In one marine protected area off the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, in just 1 month, 50 metric tons of debris was collected. That's equivalent to 50 elephants worth of trash. This small sample speaks volumes about the magnitude of this problem. Marine debris is everywhere. It's sitting on the bottom of the ocean, suspended in the water column, floating on the surface, and lying on the beach. And no matter what location it resides, it causes problems. Animals get entangled, trapped, and killed. They ingest fragments when feeding, which can cause sickness and death. Corals get smothered, causing major disturbances to entire habitats and ecosystems. Boats face navigational hazards, like having their propellers damaged. Cigarette butts, plastic bottles, and plastic bags litter beaches. Debris also causes injuries to swimmers, divers, and beachgoers, and can cause areas to close due to pollution. The tourism industry suffers because of these things. There are no easy solutions to the worldwide problem of marine debris, but there are things you can do to help. Since we caused it, we have a responsibility to clean it up. We can recycle more, volunteer to clean up coastlines, and give support to programs that are tackling the issue in creative ways. Take the time to research what events and actions are going on in your area. Ultimately, the most effective way to reduce our waste is to not create it in the first place. Our islands and icebergs should have one thing between them in common: debris-free water.
So recently, I think I saw President Obama did something in Hawaii and preserved some area. Could you go into a little bit more depth about that?
Sure. What President Obama did was announce the historic expansion of the Papahanaumakuakea National Monument.
Fast.
It took a long time to learn how to say that. This is now the world's largest marine national monument. He expanded it to over 500,000 square miles,
Wow.
which means protection for about 7,000 marine species in a truly unique environment.
That's fantastic.
It's in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands.
Northwestern Hawaii. So there's so much, like, I know, marine debris and people pollute and everywhere across the globe. Are you really optimistic that we can make a difference, or is it kind of, are we stuck in our ways?
I am optimistic. I'm optimistic because what we're really talking about is managing a problem that we created. And to manage any problem, you need to understand it. And to understand it, you need to study it. And we're now in a great position to study this problem, develop solutions for mitigating the amount of plastics that are in the ocean.
So you're saying that, like, the oceans will probably be better for my generation than the ones to come after and so forth?
I really think so. I'm optimistic because of not just technology, but when I was a kid growing up, we as high school students didn't have the opportunity that you do right now. So just the fact that you're asking these kinds of questions and reaching out to your colleagues and peers is, to me, a very good sign for the future.
And technology can contribute to, like, solving these issues too, right?
Sure, technology is important. It's not the only solution. You've got to have policy, you've got to have motivation on the part of the public. But technology, things like satellites to observe ocean currents, things like unmanned vehicles that can go in the ocean and live in the ocean, robots that can observe for years and years. We didn't have that before.
Yeah, those are some pretty cool things, I think.
They are,
Yeah.
they are.
So also, it's really about everybody helping out and contributing and doing their part to helping out the ocean.
The important thing is that everybody needs to realize that their lives are affected by the oceans, whether it's the oxygen they breathe, the food they eat. It's all dependent on having a healthy ocean with sustainable resources.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Spinrad, for all the work you're doing.
And thank you for your work as well.
Thank you. We'll meet with our final guests in just a second, but this is a Discovery Education broadcast, so you know we have to see some sharks. Let's take a look.
Did you know that sharks have existed for more than 400 million years? There are more than 450 species of sharks throughout the ocean, and they come in all different colors and sizes. The whale shark is the largest. It can grow to more than 40 feet. That's as large as a school bus. At a mere 6 inches, the dwarf lantern is one of the smallest sharks and can fit in the palm of your hand. What sharks do have in common is the role they play in their ecosystems. Most sharks are apex predators and sit at the top of the food chain. They play a vital role in keeping the ecosystem healthy by feeding on weak, old, and unhealthy fish, which stops the spread of disease among fish populations. Sharks take many years to mature, have only a few young at a time, and are highly migratory. What makes them unique also makes them vulnerable. While the majority of shark species have sustainable populations, a number of them have been shrinking at an alarming rate. For these species, overfishing, bycatch, and shark finning are contributing factors in their decline. Because of this, international concern about shark conservation has grown. In the United States, sharks are managed to ensure their population size can support sustainable fisheries in the ecosystem, and shark finning is prohibited. And thanks to growing global awareness about vulnerable shark species, many countries are implementing shark fin bans, even in places where shark fin soup is considered a delicacy and cultural tradition. In March of 2013, as a result of tremendous international cooperation, 5 shark species were listed by CITES, an international organization. This means increased protection for these particular sharks, while still allowing legal and sustainable trade. A healthy ocean needs healthy shark populations, and sharks need our help.
So our final guest today is Dr. Von Tarikian. He is the Science and Technology Advisor to the Secretary of State. Welcome.
Thank you, Christopher.
So we just saw a video about sharks today. And I was wondering, do you just advise the Secretary of State about sharks, or do you do something else?
I do other stuff, but I love sharks, and I think that one of the things that's always great about my position at the State Department is I get to provide advice to the Secretary and to other people about a whole range of science and technology issues. Sharks are one of them, but oceans and the sharks that swim in the oceans, and understanding some of the issues around the science that helps us understand more about why the oceans are the way they are and how they're changing.
So I would think that there are a lot more like attorneys and lawyers at the State Department. So are you the only scientist, or?
No. There are a lot of attorneys and lawyers, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But more and more they're scientists, and one of the things that we're really proud of is that we have about, at any given moment, about 250 to 300 scientists, PhD scientists.
Awesome.
It's great, and we've got, they cover everything from anthropology to zoology and all things in between.
So what are the big projects that you guys are currently working on at the State Department?
Well, the State Department works on a whole range of projects. I mean,
Especially
the world is our laboratory in many ways, and I think that one of the things that we really do focus on is how we can help bring, from my standpoint, issues of science and technology and innovation to really make the world healthier and more prosperous. And that means making our environment healthier and working with other countries by bringing more science information and technology solutions to these things.
So is it hard for you guys as scientists in the State Department to get other countries to go along with like the policies, I guess, with ocean protection, or is it relatively easy?
Well, one of the things is that the facts matter. And hopefully by talking to other countries about the science and sharing information about the scientific information that we have, we can use that as a way to get other countries and us to be able to settle on what the science is that we're learning. And then the policymakers and the diplomats can use that scientific information to really try to make solutions that are useful not only for specific problems of one ocean, but actually the ocean as a whole.
Okay. So I know here in the United States, like beach cleanups are pretty popular with a lot of kids, even elementary and younger ages. Is that the same way across the globe, or are we kind of unique in that way?
No, I think when you go around the world, you see that not only with kids, but with actually everybody, going around and seeing ways that they can contribute to making their ocean regions cleaner is actually a growing movement. And you see this in ocean cleanups. This is the 30th anniversary of the International Ocean Cleanup.
Oh, really?
So for
That's
30 years, no, it's great. And so all around the world, I mean, you see it almost in every continent.
Yeah.
People are going out to the beaches and trying to pick up the litter that they see to really make that important resource for their economy, for their environment, cleaner and safer.
Yeah. So actually earlier this summer I went to Ghana and I was on the beach and it was fantastic. I love the water.
Oh, yes.
But there was this one instance I saw, there was this one guy and he would collect all the trash, put it into a hole, and then cover it back up. Is that like a practice, or was that more of like a one-time tourist
I think it might have been a one-time thing. Oh, it may happen in other places, but I think when you think about ocean cleanup, it's really taking the debris and the other things and putting it in the right place, and burying it in the sand is not really the right place.
Yeah,
I know it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I was down at the beaches actually in the United States, and I saw actually with my own children, they actually, you could see that they're learning it from school. They're learning that letting plastic or trash accumulate on the beach is actually not only not good looking or not pretty or not for the beaches, it's also not healthy for the fish and the sea life. And so it was great seeing little kids wandering around, picking up trash and figuring out where to put it. And more you're seeing that the kids are leading their parents into these things. And it's, I think because they're learning these things in school.
I was in a beach cleanup actually in 6th grade. We went into the Chesapeake Bay and we went around and did all the mud mucking, which was, we were digging in mud, it was awesome.
Yes.
And then we got all those like cool pitchfork looking things and picked up trash everywhere.
Yeah.
It was a great experience.
No, mud mucking is great. And then I will say now as a parent, I look at my children as they muck around the mud and we think, isn't that wonderful? Look at that experience again. And then we think, oh no, they're going to get into our car afterwards. So
yeah,
but it's a great thing. And I think that's one of the most important things about science is really getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. So you said you went to the beaches here in the U.S. Do you just travel around the globe and get to see other beaches? Or?
It's a little bit different from that, but I do try to go visit when I go around to different countries, see what people are doing not only to protect their environment, but also what innovators are doing to think about new ways to create things like biodegradable plastics or new solutions to things where the technology can help meet some of the environmental and social and economic well-being.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming with us and talking to us today, Dr. Ron Tarikian. So sadly, that concludes our show for today. If you want to see an archive of today's program, you can check it out at www.discoveryeducation.com/ofthepeople. And if you want to see our Ocean Conference from the State Department, you can see it at ourocean2016.org. On behalf of Discovery Education, thank you for joining us.